We've got a 9-minute center core burner today. If you have 2 platforms, I'm gonna start at the back of the machine. 1 light spring will be harder, 0 springs will be a little bit nicer, or you can just stay at the front of your machine if your machine only has 1 platform. 1 light spring will be more supportive and 0 springs harder.
Let's get started with a high plank hold at the back of the machine just for 30 seconds to get going, making sure that your shoulders are pulled out of your ears, your scapula pulled away from each other, your hips up and out of the well, top of your hips into the bottom of your rib cage. I like to make sure that my heels are also directly over my ankles. You got 10 seconds. We pop down to our knees for an ab roller. In 5, in 3, 2, and 1. You're on your knees and on your palms. You have a long line from the top of your head down through your shoulders, through your spine, your tailbone, and then all the way to your knees. Make sure that you've got that slight little tuck in with your pelvis, pressing away from the back platform, taking your chest over the well. In 10 seconds, drive all the way out in your ab roller. Find that really sticky, that shaky point in 3, 2, and 1. All the way back. Linger here for just a second. 1 deep breath. Now pulse back and forth. Right in that sticky point, back and forth for 5. We'll go full range in 3, 2, and 1. Back first, always, then restack your shoulders right over your elbows, right over your wrists. We're almost out of this. We get to drop down to our forearms in just about 30 seconds. Keep moving with your ab roller. We've got one more little challenge. Drive all the way out in 5, in 3, 2, and 1. All the way out. Find that sticky point. Now tuck your hips up and down. But while you're pulsing with your hips, I want you to make sure that your pelvis drives forward and your belly button drives in towards your spine. We'll keep pulsing for 5. Drop down to your forearms in 3, 2, and 1. Forearms and knees, crunching it out. We lift our hips, look back towards our knees on the way up. Moving slow with that 4-second pace. So it's really easy to just kind of pull in and out with your knees. That's actually activating your hip flexors. I want you to focus on lifting up through your center core. Imagine that I have a string and I've wrapped it around your core and I'm just lifting you up towards the ceiling. The knees are a secondary movement. They're only moving because the hips are lifting up. We got 8 seconds. Hold in your crunch. In 3, 2, and 1. Hold in your crunch. Now lift your hips up an inch, then drop them down an inch. Little tiny pulse in your crunch for 8. We'll drop our hips down for a full range saw in 3, 2, and 1. Hips restack, pelvis tilts forward, draw your belly button in. Now, similar to the ab roller, we extend away from the back platform and then restack our shoulders right over our elbows. You'll find that you have a little bit more range of motion here because we are supported by our forearms. You got 8 seconds. Drive all the way out in your saw. In 3, 2, and 1. Find that furthest range point. Stay here for 5. Then we pulse forward and back in 2 and 1. Pulse forward and back right at that sticky point. You're going to want to start to slowly inch forward. Stay right there, right where it's challenging. Full range of motion in 3, 2, and 1. Back first, then drag it in. We got 15 seconds. Inchworm on deck. All you have to do is put the crunch and the saw together. It's a 4-part movement. Let's go inchworm crunch first in 5, in 3, 2, and 1. Crunch first, then saw. Inchworm should take you about 16 seconds to get through 1, making sure that on that crunch you're going vertebrae by vertebrae, starting with your upper back, then taking it all the way down your spine until your hips lift. This is your last move at the back of the machine. If you are at the back of the machine, if you have a machine that only has 1 platform, you'll just stay put where you are. Good, keep moving extra slow. Can you get higher in that crunch? Can you get further in your saw? We've got 2 challenges coming up in 10 seconds. Take it to the top of your crunch in 5, in 3, 2, and 1. Top of your crunch, hold it. Now slide your shoulders forward and back, little micro saw at the top of your crunch. Keep going, we invert this, we drop our hips, take our furthest saw in 5, in 3, 2, and 1. Take your furthest saw that you have now. Now tuck your hips up an inch, down an inch. Remember that C curve in your pelvis, the belly button drives up. We are pulsing in our furthest saw. Got time for one more full range of inchworm. In 3, 2, and 1. 15 seconds, you ride it to the front of the machine. We have a forearm plank hold in 10, or just stay there if you're already at the front. In 5, in 3, 2, and 1. Now, one light spring will be supportive. 0 springs more challenging. You're on your forearms and your toes. I like to face the back, or you can face the front for a nicer option. We're just in some stillness for 15 more seconds. Remember to spread those scapula apart. Continue to breathe. 8 seconds, start to army crawl up and down your carriage. In 3, 2, and 1. Army crawl up and down your carriage. Big strides here. Most important thing is that your hips are not wagging back and forth. Your lower body is completely still. Option to drop down to your knees. Option to step your feet further apart to keep your hips still and also engage your obliques a little bit more. We've got 8 seconds. We walk the plank. That's up palm to palm, down forearm to forearm in 3, 2, and 1. Up palm to palm, down forearm to forearm. You only have 25 seconds of this. Still, option to drop to your knees or stay up on your toes for your amplification. Let's go for 15 seconds. Then we stop in our high plank hold for a cannonball crunch. In 8, high plank hold up on your palms and toes. 3, 2, and 1. Once you're in your high plank hold, keeping a flat back, you drive your knees forward until they hit your hips or maybe even your belly button. Linger there for just a second, then drive right back out into your high plank hold. That's 1 cannonball crunch. 1 cannonball crunch, like you're about to cannonball into a pool. You tuck your knees, keeping a flat back, then send right back out to your high plank holds. Making sure that your belly button is in, engaging your core. What does that mean? Your belly button drives in, your diaphragm pulls up. We have 15 seconds. We're going to bend our knees, stop them right under our hips. In 8 seconds, your knees stop right under your hips. In 3, 2, and 1. Knees under hips. Hold here. Now pulse your hips up and down like you're rolling a ball on your back from your head down to your tailbone. You pulse your hips up and down for 5. We pike our hips in 3, 2, and 1. Pike your hips. It's 1 pike. Then send it back out to your high plank holds. Then cannonball crunch in. Once your knees are bent, you pike your hips again. So this is a cannonball pike combo. If this doesn't serve you, just stay in that cannonball crunch or maybe just a pike. So pike your hips while your knees are bent. Send it right back out to that high plank hold. Then bend your knees to 90 degrees. Then once again, pike your hips. You are almost out of this. This finishes your center core sequence in 10 seconds. Drop into a child's pose. You get to rest in 5, in 3, 2, and 1. Good job.
Great job, you guys. As always, if you want to add on to that, I have leg series and upper body series on my channel.